Have you seen all the ads for Motion Array and Artlist? Did you ever wonder what these services could do for you as a live streamer? The biggest challenge when you start live streaming is creating assets like an epic streaming intro. Artlist and Motion Array have all the tools that you could ever want to create an epic intro. Custom alerts or amazing lower thirds and overlays, so much more. As a live streamer, you probably never thought about these services because they're always marketed to editors. And as a live streamer, we're usually not editors. Well, by overlooking them, you're really missing out on some epic tools that can take your stream to a whole new level. Today, I want to walk you through how to put together an epic intro video so you can see what these tools can do for you and your live stream. So you know what? Let's get to it! You're going to find out today what Motion Array and Artlist can do for your live stream, and I have no doubt that you're going to be shocked with the kind of amazing streaming assets that you can create. I put some links down below in the description so you can go and check this stuff out for yourself. They're even putting on some really nice discounts for the folks who click my links below, and that's really cool of them. You won't believe how amazing these look and how easy they are to create. Let's create a new streaming intro. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what you can find in Motion Array, and here's the problem with doing something like that. When you do a video like this, the company obviously wants you to feature their product and show you the different things and that it has and the different ways that you can use it. And the problem is that most of the folks in my audience may not actually even understand how these things work or what they can do for them in their live stream. So I can go through here and show you lower thirds and slideshows and topography and tools and logos, and it doesn't honestly mean anything to you because you've never actually used it. You don't understand how you put this sort of stuff into use. But we've got lots of video templates in here, and we've got lots of presets, and all of these things, once I show you how you can use them, is going to make a lot more sense. And then you're going to have the opportunity to go and explore all these categories with excitement later, knowing how they can be used in your live streams. So we've got video templates, presets, motion graphics, and all of those things are different elements that you can add to your live stream to create intro videos, lower thirds, alerts, overlays, motion text, and all kinds of other really cool effects. Then you have footage, which, believe it or not, is much more useful to a live streamer than you would think. If you're ever looking for that background video or something funny to use in a little skit, you're going to be able to easily search for exactly what you're looking for right here. Whether it's a background, whether you want people in it, if it's going to be an overlay for smoke, if you wanted to add smoke to your live stream, there it is right there. You know, and then you have green screen and animation. So all of these things can be used in the live stream. It's just a product of you've never done it or you don't understand how to use it. You can search specifically for anything that you might be looking for. It has music, which again has all the same search functions. You can search for duration, beats per minute, and of course genre. You have sound effects, graphics, but I don't want to go into every little itty bitty piece of the things that are available in Motion Array because I know if you've never used any of these assets, it's not really going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense to you anyways. I think that most people that I know learn better through actually seeing, and I'm going to show you. And then I know that when you go to explore Motion Array, you're going to see the value of all these assets and how you can use them to make your live stream look absolutely amazing. Okay, so our intro video, we're going to use one of these here, and I really like modern topography. So we're just going to download that the same way as we did the other one. Once we do, we're going to go ahead and unzip it, and then once we unzip it, all we have to do is we'll move it into our folder, and you can see it's this one right here. Now in here you've got fonts, so make sure you download your font. Now inside of these folders, besides some help and your actual macro stuff, you're also going to find fonts. And if you don't download these fonts, well, a lot of times it won't work. So it's pretty simple to do. You just click on it. They're all free. So it's going to open in a website and you just download it. And then this is what the font files are going to look like. They're just a zipped file, and you can double click on them, and then this is what you're looking for here. these two. All this rest of this stuff is just for other things. If you go into any one of these, that's what you're going to see. And you just right click, you go to open, and then you just click install, and it's going to tell me that mine's already installed. But if you don't install these, a lot of times these plugins and stuff just aren't going to work. And you also have instructions and a little video showing you how to do it, and you have your project file. So how do you load a project file? Well, in DaVinci Resolve, we're just going to right click here and we're going to restore a project archive, and then all we have to do is go into that folder and into the project folder, and this DRA file right here is what we're looking for. And so here it is. And we can just double click it. Now here I'm going to show you some of the problems that you may run into when you do something like this. So right here, already loaded up, is the actual file as it appears when nothing is loaded into it. So we're going to use that one. Basically the way they want you to do this is there are placeholders in here. So we would go into placeholder and you can just load a piece of media. So let's load some media in here to make it really simple. I'm just going to load a simple video in here, and I'm going to load my logo in here, so that we already have all of the assets that we're going to need. And then if we go into placeholders and we open it up, it creates a new tab. So then we could just load in the video file that we just created. And then if we go back over here into render, you can see that that is there. However, if we go then into topography and we load up that topography, all we can really see is just, you know, a still shot of our video. It doesn't really communicate with all of the stuff in Fusion for whatever reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our Fusion composition and we're going to just go into Fusion. And this is going to look really confusing. I totally get that. So I'm going to make a quick explanation here. This right pane is the output. That's what you're going to see on the screen. And this left screen, we can kind of track our output. So if we go here, this right here is the beginning of the whole thing, and it should be our placeholder image. And as you can see, there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do, just to make my life easy, is I'm going to open up the media pool and I'm going to go back to master, and I'm just going to drag our media there. And it asks you if you want to replace it. I'm just going to click OK and say yes. Alright, so now you can see in the left pane we have our media. And so if we start to go down the line here, you can see that that's blue and that's the grayed out. And we've got our brightness factors here and our transforms right here. So you want to make sure that your playhead is where everything is over here and seen. Now the big problem that we run into here is they use some kind of a macro right here. If we hover over it, it shows all of these things combined into one node that it just uses for an output. But for whatever reason, that node's not working. So we're just going to go ahead and connect it directly with everything like that. And that makes it really simple. Now everything that I've noticed about this boils down to these drop shadow nodes here. So if I go to the merge right here and I drag it over, you can see everything is working. If I drag the drop shadow node, everything is not working. So the easy way I've found to fix this is just to connect this. And there we go. And now you can see over here that everything seems to be functional. That fixes this entire node right here, and that works. So now we can continue to go down the list. This adds the background, as you can see there. And so this up here, this right here is going to be all of the other pieces of this. So the text and everything else. All right, so let's go over here and mess around with our text. So if we look right here, you can see you've got your text. And so we're going to come all the way out here to the merge, and it shows us our full merged text. And then of course, if we go to the drop shadow, you can see that the drop shadow isn't really giving us everything. It's giving us some, but not everything. So we're going to connect this with the blue one as well. And there we get our blue dot. So the one major aspect of this that it messes up is this macro file is meant for us to be able to change everything about our composition. But since we're not using the macro file anymore, we have to modify the composition on our own. So what we're going to do is go in here and see what we've got. So this is a blue background, and we can change it up. Now this particular background is for this square box right here, and you'll be able to figure that out just by going in and modifying it to see what it does. So there we go. If we wanted to change the color of that little blue box, that's where we would do it. What do we want to change? Well, we want to modify this so it's our color, and we want to change the text. So these two T files are the text right here, so we can easily change those. So we'll go right here and we'll say live, and since that's the bottom one, we'll go with streaming, and we'll go down to T1 and we'll put live, and there we go. So now we've modified our text. What we want to do next is I want to modify the color scheme that we have going on here. So we're gonna go ahead and just move this up here so that that is yellow, and instead of this grayscale here, we're gonna go ahead and add the saturation back in, and we're gonna make this blue. Now we got this kind of blue and yellow overlay when we mess around with it. Now I don't like how my image looks on here, so we know that comes from the placeholder. What I'm going to do is select the placeholder, and I'm going to add this transform right there. What that's going to give me the ability to do is go ahead and change the size of that placeholder, and there we go. So that centers me some more. I can move it around, do whatever I want, center it up, not center it up, but there we go. So now we have the first piece of our intro video. Looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is go back in here to edit, and we're going to go to our render, and this is the first one. So we're going to go ahead and move this out here, and we'll just make sure that it functions the way it's supposed to. We'll click play, and there we go. It's functioning the way it's supposed to. So the next thing I'm going to do is select what the next one is going to be. Definitely going to use this one. We're going to put it down here at the end. And the other one that I want to use, all right, so we're going to use this one as well. We're going to move this over here, and what we're going to do is come over here and zoom in a little bit so we can see which ones we're working with. So we've got one finished. So this number 9 is the one we want to use. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go to number 9, and I'm just going to double click it so it creates that right here. And I'm going to go into Fusion, and we have basically more of the same. Now the other two are exactly the same as the first one that I showed you. So because of time, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the point where all three of these are finished so we can move on to the next step. But everything that you need to know I showed you in the first segment of this, for if you were to get one of these that doesn't work the way that you expect it to work. And now you can see that's red now. Everything looks pretty good. Now I just want to add one more piece to the end of this so that we can have a logo reveal. So for that, what I'm going to do is we'll go back in here, and I'm going to select the logos, and let's find the logo that I want. This light glow logo right here. I really like it because it kind of has the same topology. So we're going to download this, and then we go into downloads, of course, and you're going to unzip it, and then you're going to grab the unzipped version, and you're going to move it into the place where you store all of your plugins and stuff for DaVinci Resolve. And so you can see it, it's light glow right here. Inside here you have fonts, so you're going to want to make sure that you download your fonts, and it has help, so it has a video file in there that can help you figure this out just in case you can't, and it's called Light Glow Logo DRA. So that's what we need to grab in DaVinci. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go File, and we're going to go to Project Manager. We're going to right click, and we're going to go to Restore Project Archive, and we're going to go to our Light Glow logo. And we're going to select this one right here and open. And there we go. It's Light Glow logo right here. We're just going to double click on it and open it. So we want to make sure that everything is selected. We want to select master right here. And we want to go ahead and go to edit and copy. Then we want to go to file, open recent project. We're going to go back to the modern typography file. And we're going to see that our stuff is all still here. So we can click anywhere and go to edit and paste, and now we've brought in that other one right here. So if we go into the master for this, what we want to do is we want to go to final right here, and we're going to drag this light glow final down here. So when we select over this way, you can see that's what it looks like. There we go. So it looks pretty good. We're just going to move it out to here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit image, and we're going to double click on the import your image. So right now it has a placeholder for the image, and what we're going to do is go out here to master, and we're going to bring our logo in here, and we'll bring it all the way over here, and we're just going to stretch this out so it is the same length, and we'll drag it over top, and there we go. So now we have our logo in here. If we go out to render, you can see what that looks like, and you can see we've got a little bit of our logo cut off at the top. So we're going to come back into the import your logo here, and we're going to go ahead and just move it down a little bit. We're going to go to playback, delete render cache. We're going to delete all the render cache, and we're going to go back into render, and we're going to see how close we are. We're pretty close. We still have a little bit of the top cut off, so we're going to go back in here, and we're just going to bring it down a little. Not that. And we're just going to bring it down a little bit more. And we're going to once again go to playback. We're going to delete the render cache. And we're going to come back over here into render. And we're going to see if we got the tip of our thing yet. Not yet. We're getting closer. We're going to go back into our logo. We're going to go ahead and lower it a little more. And once again, you've got to delete your render cache every time, or it will basically look like it didn't move. We can go back into render. And now we can see we got the whole logo in there. So that's perfect. That's what we're looking for. And so now we want to change our text right here. So we're going to go back into our edit text right here, and we can just double click on edit text, and we'll put our text in here. All right, and you're going to see if I go back in here to render, sometimes the text will be there and sometimes it won't. In this case, I didn't have to delete the cache in order to return the text. Now, if I wanted to edit the text color, I could double click here, creates another bar. I could change this color to some other color. You know, I could go with red, and then if I come back into the render, you can see that the text is now red. So that's what all this other stuff does. I'm going to go back in here and change our text color back to white and click OK and close that, and I can close our edited text, and we're going to go back into render and see what else about this we want to change. So there are a couple of things right there. You see all the grain and everything. I don't really care for that, so we're going to go into edit colors, and you can see noise on and off. I'm going to double click on that, and I'm just going to turn off the noise video. And so if we go back into render, you can see that the noise is pretty much gone. Looks much better. If I go and I hit the back button, and then we go to playback and delete render cache all, I suspect that it will be even cleaner. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now I want these little dots that are coming out of there, the particles, I want those to be yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and select the edit particle color, and I'm going to just make that yellow. There we go, super bright yellow. And now when we go back to render, we can see our particle colors are yellow. Fantastic. And I want to edit, there are two different door colors and a background color. So I'm going to edit our door colors, and I want the door colors to be kind of a blue like that. And now if we go back out to the render, we can see our door color has changed. So now it's going to mix a heck of a lot more with these, because it has that topographic feel. And there we go. So now we have all of the elements of an intro video. It gives you a little bit of information about the stream, you know, live streaming, content creation, and my name and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's very simple, and then we just have our logo. This is perfect for an intro video for a live stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove these right here by just right clicking and cutting. And we're going to select our 4 clips. We're going to move those up here, and we're going to set this so it goes right to the end. And now we should be able to go and see our 4 clips right here, and they're the only ones in here. We can close all of this other stuff out now that we have everything set up the way that we want it, so that it is just our render clips in here, and we can just verify once again that they are all there and functioning the way that we expect them to. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and go to deliver, and we're going to select our YouTube, and then we want to go ahead and select where we want it to go, and we'll name this intro. Let's name it Topo Intro. and we're going to add it to the render queue and click render. And it's going to take a few minutes to render through all of this stuff, but once it's finished, then we'll have a full intro render. Next, it's time to take our intro video to the next level using music and sound. And for that, we're going to use Artlist. Create a new project, and we're going to call this intro vid final and create. We'll go into edit, and then I'm going to drag on our intro video that we created before into our media pool. And we want to change our project settings, but we want to verify. So we're going to go to File, Project Settings, and just make sure that this is 30 frames per second. That is what our stream is going to produce, so nothing ends up looking wonky. I'm going to click save and change, and there we go. Now we can just drag this down onto here. There we go. We can see everything. So this looks great, but it will be even better with some awesome sound. And with this one, it may not just be music. So this particular clip is 27 seconds long. So let's go into Artlist. A brief overview of Artlist. If we go into music, you can select mood, theme, genre, instrument, spotlight, and you have the ability to sort by staff picks, vocal, instrumental, beats per minute, and you can select any duration that you want for any given type of music. But I think what makes it really awesome is the way this stuff is categorized. So you've got cinematic and R&B and electronic and hip hop, and you can essentially decide on whatever type of music that you want, and it's the ultimate search tool. And this music is extremely high quality, so you can search for any type of music. We can do a search for metal, and we'll find all sorts of rock and hip-hop metal style stuff. But the beautiful thing is, what if we want a mood in there as well? We can go ahead and search for those by mood. Maybe we want dark, and it will add that to the keywords, and we're going to get that style of music. And the beautiful thing about it is we can dial it down even further by going over here and saying, okay, we want the song to be at least 2.5 minutes long to cover the segment that we're working in. And then you can see here, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes. So we can even dial it down further by saying it has to be between 2.5 and 3 minutes long. And there we go. So we're going to have all of these set up so that they're going to be in that time range. So when you're creating an intro or whatever, you can actually dial up the style of music, the mood of the music, and of course, even the length of the music to determine exactly what you're looking for. And that's just in the music category. You have the ability to do the exact same thing with sound effects, which is absolutely awesome. It's really easy to search for sound effects that are going to give you exactly what you're looking for. And then they have footage, which is video footage that you can add to any video, intro, whatever you're doing. This is actually a lot more useful in a live stream than you would think. You've got video templates over here that can add text templates, lower thirds, that sort of stuff. And then, of course, plugins and different apps that you can add as well. None of those are going to be particularly useful to live streamers. What you're really going to be using is the music and sound effects and possibly the footage. But I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the absolutely amazing assets that you have access to with Artlist. They're all top-notch, they're all professionally done, and they're going to make any live stream that you do look more professional or sound more professional as well. So I'm going to do the same thing here, but instead of this, we're going to go and adjust. We want this to be, you know, somewhere around the area that we can use it, and we're going to go ahead and search again, and let's see what we've got here. And I don't generally like to have anything with lyrics, so they've got little things here that show you whether they have lyrics and whether they're explicit, all that kind of stuff. We're going to move away from that sort of lyrical stuff. Well, now I think that's really cool, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. This is the instrumental version, and it looks like they're both the same thing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click download on that. We're going to take the MP3, and I'm going to go ahead into my downloads folder, And I'm going to right click on that and cut. And we're going to go back into our regular folder and just paste this in here. And now all we need to do to add that music is go back in here. And I'm going to drag it in there. And I'm going to put it right over top of this just to make sure we get rid of that. Here's where we might want to actually do a little bit of editing. So I think I'm going to cut this right here. We'll drag it over. Now you kind of want to make sure that it ends in a way that makes sense too. Alright, so I want the end to come there. Let's see if we can make this work. So what happens if we do this? I think I can kind of live with that. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite, but it illustrates what can be done. So because we're going to mix in some sound effects with this, what we're going to want to do is go ahead and just lower the audio volume on this a bit to more like that. And then we're going to find some sound effects. So what do we have here? I'm going to mute this up so I can move this around a little bit. We have stuff that swishes on and off, and so we can add sound effects to all of these things. So let's go back into art list right here, and instead we're going to go into sound effects. And what kind of sound effects are we looking for? Well, let's look for some swishes. And I kind of like this one here, so we'll download that one. That's a good one. I like that. Maybe a little bit of a slide. I don't mind that one. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I think that's what I'm looking for. So let's go with these two sounds and we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead into our download section here. We'll just grab those and paste them in here. And now we're going to go into DaVinci and we're going to see what we can do with these sound effects. So I'm going to go ahead and select here and we're going to bring our swish sound effect in. And we're going to bring our slide sound effect in. And I like the slide sound effect for something like this. So we're going to come back to the very beginning. And I'm going to add the slide sound in here. And we're going to just zoom in a little bit. And bring it over here. And let's see what happens. Alright, I don't hate it. I'm going to go ahead and select it. Hold down the Alt key. And drag it out so we get a second one. Let's see what that sounds like. And so this one could be slower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and right click on here and we're going to change the clip's speed. And I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. And we're going to do pitch correction on there. And we're going to try to change. And then we can just stretch it out. And let's see how that works. There we go. That's pretty cool. So we've got it coming on. There we go. I like that. That works. So let's go back to this one here. And we're going to do the same kind of thing just with swishes. So we've got all this stuff coming on. And let's try our little swishies here and see how they work. Alright, I like that. That'll work. We'll use this one on the last one all the way over at the other end. And of course you can get as detailed and crazy as you want with any of this. Has a little tone to it. I'm going to leave it. I would probably, if this was going to be my final product, change it up. But I just want to show you the kind of sound effects, how you can find the sound effects, and how you fit your sound effects in there. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the music back on, and we'll give this a quick look. Now obviously we could do the same thing with the particle stuff and all that in here, but I think you get the idea and you understand how you can use the tools. So let's let's give it a quick once over and hear what it sounds like with the music and the sound effects. Pretty freaking cool. I like it. And sure, did it take a little bit of time to get to this point? There's no question. But it's a much more professional product than you could possibly do on your own if you're just a beginner. Not only that, but it's bespoke to you. The coloring in all this is mine. The logo in all this is mine. Everything about it was chosen by me, including the clip, which can be anything you want or even just a still image. The point is, no one else is going to have an asset like this on their live stream. And you can do the exact same thing with a lot of these assets for your alerts and everything else to make them distinctly yours. And the reality is that a subscription to Motion Array or Artlist is way less than half of what you're going to pay for someone on something like Feyrer to create your assets. And in my experience using Feyrer, you're just going to get canned garbage that's been used over and over again by lots of other streams. And that is why something like Artlist and Motion Array can be a game changer for a beginning streamer. Now, I think this stuff is so cool. In just a few minutes, you can create assets that look amazing. And they're in your style with your accent colors and your personal brand. I'm interested to know what you think though, so let me know in the comments below. Now, Artlist and Motion Array are offering some really cool discounts for the folks that click on my link in the description. How much of a discount? Well, I create videos that are going to be up for years, so these things change all the time depending upon when you actually watch the video. But you can be sure they're taking very good care of my viewers, and I really appreciate that, so be sure to check out those links right down below in the description. Now, you could spend the time to create an overlay on your own. If you want to see how you might actually do that, you should check this video out right here. Big thanks to Artlist and Motion Array for sponsoring this video. I couldn't possibly do any of this content without them or you, so thanks. And if you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks to help make you a better live streamer or YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Michael Feyrer Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.